Before we begin, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Every week, we uncover the hidden feuds, untold betrayals, and shocking stories behind the biggest legends in music history. If you enjoy discovering what really happened behind the spotlight, you're in the right place. For decades, Vince Gill has been known as one of the most respected voices in country music. A two-time Grammy winner. A Country Music Hall of Fame member. The man trusted to help carry on the legacy of the Eagles after the passing of Glenn Frey. To millions of fans, Vince represented everything. Country music was supposed to be humble, talented, gracious, and deeply respected by his peers. But what if that image only told part of the story? What if behind the warm smile and soft-spoken personality was a man who never forgot the people who disappointed him, the artists he admired, the friends he trusted, the industry giants who, in his eyes, helped change country music into something he barely recognized? At 68, stories began resurfacing about the names Vince Gill struggled to forgive. Some were former heroes, some were close friends. Others were artists whose success transformed the industry forever. Together, they represent 7 relationships that left scars few fans ever knew existed. And the first name on that list may shock you more than any other: Garth Brooks. To the public, they seemed like two country music legends who shared mutual respect. But behind the scenes, insiders whispered about a growing divide that stretched back decades. Vince believed country music was built on storytelling, authenticity, and emotional connection. Then came a new era of sold-out stadiums, massive productions, and entertainment on a scale Nashville had never seen before. Was it jealousy? Not according to those who knew him. They say it was something far more personal. A feeling that the music he loved was slowly disappearing right before his eyes. And when one private comment about Garth reportedly surfaced, it left an entire room speechless. So what really happened between Vince Gill and some of the biggest names in country music? Let's uncover the stories that few people are willing to talk about. If there was one artist who symbolized everything Vince Gill believed was changing about country music, it was Shania Twain. When Come On Over exploded onto the charts in 1997, it wasn't just another hit album. It felt like a cultural earthquake. Overnight, Nashville looked different. Country music suddenly came with dazzling stage productions, glamorous music videos, choreographed performances, and a level of commercial success the genre had never seen before. Millions of fans celebrated the transformation. Vince Gill didn't. To him, something important had been lost in the process. During an interview near the end of the decade, Vince made a brief comment that left everyone in the room uncomfortable. "We forgot what genre we're in," he said. He never mentioned Shania by name, but nobody needed him to. In Vince's eyes, Shania Twain wasn't simply a country artist reaching a broader audience. She represented a turning point, the moment when entertainment started overshadowing storytelling. He respected her achievements, but struggled with what those achievements seemed to signal for the future of country music. The distance between them became impossible to ignore. They rarely crossed paths publicly. No collaborations, no public praise, no shared performances. When Shania received a major lifetime achievement, honor years later, many noticed one familiar face was missing. When reporters asked Vince about his absence, he responded with a quiet smile and a sentence that spoke volumes. "I don't fit in that show anymore." For many, it sounded less like an explanation and more like a farewell. But if Shania represented the pop revolution, Billy Ray Cyrus represented something Vince found even harder to accept. When Achy Breaky Heart became a nationwide phenomenon in 1992, America couldn't get enough of it. Dance floors filled. Radio stations played it nonstop. Record labels rushed to find the next crossover sensation. While everyone else celebrated, Vince reportedly saw a warning sign. To a songwriter who valued emotion, craftsmanship, and meaningful stories, the song felt like proof that the industry was changing priorities. Suddenly, novelty was outselling substance. Image was competing with artistry. And as Billy Ray's popularity exploded, Vince began to fear that Nashville was no longer searching for the next great storyteller. It was searching for the next big trend. Years after Billy Ray Cyrus helped reshape country music, his daughter Miley Cyrus pushed the transformation even further. This time, country wasn't crossing into pop culture, it was being absorbed by it. When asked about the trend, Vince Gill reportedly offered only a quiet reaction. He shook his head and said, "They broke it. It was over." But if Billy Ray symbolized the changing sound of country music, the next name on Vince's list represented something far more personal: Kris Kristofferson. To millions of fans, Kristofferson was a legend, a songwriter, actor, and outlaw whose influence stretched across generations. His songs became classics. His reputation became untouchable. Yet Vince Gill saw him very differently. Where Kristofferson embraced rebellion, Vince believed in discipline. Where Kris thrived on unpredictability, Vince valued preparation and professionalism. Their differences weren't just artistic, they reflected two completely different philosophies about what it meant to be a musician. According to longtime Nashville insiders, Vince grew increasingly frustrated watching Kristofferson receive praise for behavior that would have damaged almost anyone else's career. Missed lyrics, unsteady performances, last-minute appearances. Somehow, audiences still adored him. At one point, Vince reportedly asked a friend a question that revealed everything about his feelings. Since when did sloppy become soulful? The tension became impossible to ignore. During a CMA rehearsal in the 1990s, Kristofferson allegedly arrived late and struggled through his sound check. Witnesses claim Vince watched for only a few moments before grabbing his jacket and walking out. As he left, he reportedly muttered a remark that crew members never forgot. After that, the distance between them only grew. Years later, Vince organized tribute events honoring country legends such as Johnny Cash, Willie Nelson, and Waylon Jennings. One name was noticeably absent every single time: Kris Kristofferson. Then came Jason Aldean. Unlike Kristofferson, Aldean wasn't a symbol of country music's past. He represented its future, and that's exactly what troubled Vince. To younger fans, Aldean was the modern face of Nashville. To Vince, he embodied an industry moving further away from storytelling and closer to mass-market entertainment. As award shows crowned Aldean the next great superstar, Vince began to wonder whether the country music he loved was disappearing for good. And this feud was only getting started. By the early 2010s, Vince Gill was beginning to feel like a stranger in the very city he had helped build. As newer stars dominated radio and award shows, Vince watched Nashville transform into something he barely recognized. And no artist symbolized that change more than Jason Aldean. To millions of younger fans, Aldean was country music's future. Stadium tours, platinum albums, endless radio hits. But to Vince Gill, he represented a version of country music that had drifted dangerously far from its roots. When Jason Aldean headlined the CMA Festival in 2013, Vince was nowhere to be found. Reporters eventually asked why he skipped one of the genre's biggest events. His answer was short, but unforgettable. "If that's the future, I'll stay in the past." The comment spread quickly through Nashville. According to insiders, Vince believed modern country had become less about storytelling and more about selling an image. Trucks, parties, slogans, and merchandise had replaced the emotional honesty that once defined the genre. Behind closed doors, he reportedly described some of the music as lifestyle advertising rather than genuine songwriting. Yet as controversial as that opinion was, the next name on Vince's list shocked people even more, because he wasn't from country music at all: Kanye West. At first glance, the idea seems ridiculous. What could one of country music's most respected gentlemen possibly have against one of hip-hop's most controversial stars? The answer lies in what Vince values most: humility. For decades, Vince built his reputation on quiet professionalism and respect for the craft. Kanye seemed to represent the complete opposite: public outbursts, self-proclaimed greatness, endless controversy. The breaking point for Vince reportedly came during the infamous 2009 MTV Video Music Awards, when Kanye interrupted Taylor Swift's acceptance speech. While millions watched in disbelief, Vince was said to have reacted with a simple observation that revealed everything about his worldview. This is what happens when ego becomes more important than the art. To Vince, Kanye wasn't just a celebrity. He was a symbol of an industry obsessed with attention rather than talent. But surprisingly, the most personal conflict on the entire list wasn't with Aldean or Kanye. It was with fellow country star Travis Tritt. And unlike the others, this feud didn't begin with changing music trends or philosophical differences. It began with a single comment, and a stare so cold that people who witnessed it never forgot the moment. What happened next would leave a permanent mark on their relationship and become one of Nashville's most talked-about backstage stories. What happened next wasn't a shouting match. It wasn't a public scandal. In many ways, it was something even worse. After Vince Gill made an offhand remark backstage at a Nashville charity event, most people laughed and moved on. Travis Tritt didn't. Witnesses say Travis walked directly toward Vince, stopped just a few feet away, and locked eyes with him. No words, no threats. Just a cold, unbroken stare that instantly changed the atmosphere in the room. People who were there never forgot it. From that moment forward, whatever respect existed between the two men seemed to disappear. The conflict wasn't really about one comment. It was about what each man represented. Vince Gill stood for precision, restraint, and traditional musicianship. Travis Tritt built his reputation on attitude, edge, and a rebellious spirit that many fans loved. They were two different visions of country music sharing the same stage. And neither one was willing to change. As the years passed, fans repeatedly asked for a collaboration. After all, both men were major stars with loyal audiences. But according to insiders, Vince quietly dismissed the idea, once saying, "We're not the same kind of honest." That single sentence revealed more than any public argument ever could. Award shows came and went, hallways crossed, backstage encounters happened. Yet neither man seemed interested in bridging the gap. While Vince carefully avoided naming Travis in interviews, he occasionally spoke about performers who confused rebellion with talent. Travis, meanwhile, appeared completely unfazed, once remarking that he had no interest in winning approval from people who didn't understand his music. And if you're wondering whether time eventually healed the wound, the answer appears to be no. Even today, the silence between them remains frozen in a single stare that neither man ever forgot. So, which name on Vince Gill's list surprised you the most?